Good evening, everyone. Thank you all very much indeed for coming to Tsinghua Science Park. Before we begin, I would like to thank today's speaker, Khenpo Sodarji. Let me just give a simple introduction. Khenpo Sodarge is the chief Khenpo of the Han Buddhist monks department at Larung Gar 5 Sciences Buddhist Academy. He is extremely highly renowned, both in China and abroad, for his achievements. Khenpo Sodarji learned from Jigme Phuntsok Rinpoche. He has been to US, Canada, France, Germany, Netherlands, UK, Japan, India. He spread the Dharma in Thailand, Singapore, Malaysia, Bhutan, Nepal, etc. He has been named spiritual advisor for Larung Gar Exoteric and Esoteric Dharma Center in New York, USA. In terms of writing, Khenpo Sodarge has, over the years, authored even more works. He has actually already successfully published more than 80 fascinating books in total until now. The total word count of his various articles exceeds 10 million characters. That regards his works. In terms of scholarship, Khenpo is highly accomplished in Vinaya, Abhidharma, the Middle Way, Buddhist logic, and Prajnaparamita. He is extremely well versed in the 5 great treatises. Moreover, by utilizing modern internet technology, he has had a very wide-reaching influence. As for his personal spiritual practice, Khenpo mastered Kala Chakra, luminous essence, great perfection. He has truly reached profound realization. In terms of charity, since 2007, Khenpo has initiated the Start with Love campaign. He has called on Buddhists to not only protect animals, but also to care for the people around them. He has also led by example. He established Wisdom and Compassion Primary School, nursing homes, Buddhist centers, novice monk academies in Tibetan regions. He has sponsored many high school and university students dropped out of school. He has also set up scholarships in several middle schools. At the same time, he has generously helped many seriously ill patients who unfortunately lack the means and resources for proper treatment. He has also been invited twice in total to attend the World Charity Conference held at the Great Hall of the People. This time, Khenpo is attending the 4th World Charity Conferences as a distinguished guest. By the way, there is a chance to present a very wonderful speech to everyone here today indeed. The topic of today's speech is the Tibetan cultural perspective on well-being. It is with great pleasure and honor to welcome Khenpo Sodarji to give us this lecture for everyone.
Distinguished professors and respected teachers, I am honored to greet you all this evening. I am very happy and honored to be here today at Tsinghua Science Park in the vibrant city of Beijing. It is a pleasure to exchange ideas and learn together with all of you who are all gathered here with us today. The content we are going to discuss today, as the host just mentioned, as you all heard from the recent announcement, the following information is important to keep in mind, is about Tibetan culture and its approach to health and mind cultivation. Of course, this particular topic is relatively simple and easy for understand, so hope everyone will enjoy today's speech. From the bottom of my heart, I also wish to sincerely express my heartfelt wishes for you, that with such simple words and language, I can hopefully bring even a little genuine benefit to every one of you. Hope we could have a nice talk today. Sometimes, even though the words are few and the message is simple, they can dramatically and profoundly transform the entire course of a person's life. I remember there is a story in Buddhism like this, often told to illustrate the teachings and wisdom found within Buddhist philosophy. In Buddhism, the 2 renowned and highly respected, truly great disciples of our master Shakyamuni Buddha, Shariputra and Maudgalyayana, before they became monks, were practitioners of Brahmanism and also leaders among the Brahmins. Once, while they were quietly meditating and practicing together in silence, the group of travelers heard the gentle, peaceful sound of another Shramana, who was somewhere close by, softly reciting a scripture. The verse in the scripture was, all dharmas arise from causes and conditions. All dharmas cease through causes and conditions. The great Shramana, our Buddha, always teaches thus. When they heard this profound, deeply meaningful teaching that illuminated the nature of dependent origination and emptiness, these 2 venerable ones experienced a tremendous transformation in both body and mind. From that point onward, they completely abandoned and gave up their former religion, leaving behind their previous beliefs. That is to say, they turned to Buddhism and achieved a state of great enlightenment within the Buddha's teachings. Everyone should know that Madhgalyayana and Shariputra made great contributions to the cause of Buddhism, and it should be absolutely clear what specific level of realization they attained. In the same way, there are similar stories in the history of Han Buddhism. Master Dangxia of the Tang dynasty, once, before he became a monk, on a certain day, he journeyed to the city in order to take the important civil service examination. On his way to the exam, he encountered an old monk. After asking him about his situation, the monk told him in a calm voice, "Pursuing worldly glory and wealth is ultimately not very meaningful in the grand scheme of things. It is far better to truly choose the Buddhist path." In the end, he was truly and profoundly influenced by this one sentence. From then on, he chose the monastic life for himself. He eventually became a truly renowned monk in history, leaving behind a brilliant and enduring legacy of his own. Similarly, even the very smallest bit of wealth in the world, no matter how insignificant it may seem, might also, in fact, change a person's entire life. For example, in the secular world, there is Henry Ford, the founder of the Ford Motor Company in America. It is said that his life was changed by a single dollar from his father. He used that $1 as his initial capital and gradually, carefully built upon it over time. Eventually, after years of hard work and dedication, he became the well-respected and renowned head of a prestigious and famous automobile company. There are many such examples, and the same principle applies. If we are destined, even a single truly kind and gentle thought from the heart, such a genuinely good intention, might actually change your entire life in a truly positive way. Sometimes, I often find myself reflecting deeply from the perspective of charity. The main figure of Tzu Chi in Taiwan, Master Cheng Yen, and her organization today are already engaged in charitable work in 72 countries. There are tens of thousands of volunteers assisting countless people in need from all walks of life around the world. As for how it all began, at the very start, she was in a simple hut, practicing as an ordinary bhikkhuni Buddhist nun, when she witnessed a very pitiful woman in childbirth. She had no money to receive treatment for herself in the hospital, and this tragic scene deeply moved her. From then on, she made a solemn vow to wholeheartedly devote herself to extensive charitable work. After that, as everyone should already know quite well, over the long and eventful course of a total of 44 years, her tremendous achievements, which have made a significant impact in her field, have become widely recognized and appreciated by many people. Similarly, there is Mother Teresa of the Catholic Church. She once lived a heavenly life in a beautiful, peaceful convent. After that, she saw that outside the convent, there were many extremely pitiful leprosy patients. After witnessing their suffering, yet another thought gradually arose in her mind. She thought, from the age of 12 and for the rest of my life, I knew I must truly dedicate myself to charity in order to help as many people as possible. Afterwards, as everyone should know, she established centers in 123 countries throughout the entire world, and countless people have, without any doubt, always truly greatly benefited throughout the years from her deep compassion and selfless love. So I think sometimes for a person, it really just takes a single simple thought which might bring about tremendous change for the whole society. Just like the renowned Master Xuanzang Wen, he was carefully studying the scriptures. He read so many sutras, but later realized that many versions were incomplete. Then he made a vow, and with just a single thought, I must travel to the land of India. Indeed, I must obtain thousands of sutras and treatises from India and translate them into Chinese, so that future generations of sentient beings can read the scriptures and treatises in the Chinese language. After that, he practiced asceticism for 18 years and ultimately succeeded in attaining the highly prestigious title of the greatest translator in the entire history of humankind. He aided many sentient beings. In the same way, there's Master Janzen, who went to Japan. At first, when he arrived, he genuinely felt that Japan was a country with extremely poor and severely impoverished thought. He was determined to bring the brilliant spirit of Chinese Buddhism to that land. After many attempts, when he was already quite advanced in age, he finally succeeded in bringing the entirety of Chinese Buddhist culture to Japan. Today, the Japanese often call him the father of culture, in other words, the father of Japanese culture. So I want to use many stories from both history and from the secular and spiritual worlds to illustrate this point. If each and every one of us present in this room today takes a moment to truly reflect deeply and thoughtfully, even a single sentence, a single simple thought, or a small action can truly change your faith and completely transform your entire life. Right now, we need a kind of faith, a kind of spiritual nourishment. I believe that in this era of such advanced science, in this modern information age, in such today's era, as for the material living conditions, we should be said it is quite excellent. People often say that our current innovation capacity is lacking or economic development is slow and so on. There are all kinds of opinions, but comparatively speaking, from the 19th century to the 20th, now the 21st century, if we compare the overall standard of living for humanity in terms of external material aspects, I think people today, it's fair to say, in my opinion, generally have extremely solid and reliable foundations, but our inner world is becoming increasingly empty, and our hearts are ever more impoverished. In times like these, what everyone needs is an exchange of ideas. In fact, the benefits gained from the exchange of ideas and perspectives far surpass any material assistance. I often think, for example, if someone is given 10,000, 100,000, or even 1,000,000 yuan, if that person does not truly cherish or value it, if they fail, it will all be gone in no time at all, before you know it, spent completely, entirely. But if you pass on a truly valuable piece of knowledge to someone, then throughout their lifetime, no one can take it away. No one can steal it from them. They will always truly reap boundless benefits from it. So today, we have gathered here with the intention of discussing and sharing a variety of important topics together, engaging in meaningful conversation and exchanging valuable ideas as a group, whether in big modern cities or in this era as a whole, in every sense, are about the confusion, pain, and repression in people's hearts, to what extent these issues exist, and what consequences they lead to. This is something that, as a whole, humanity must seriously reflect upon. Nowadays, people in our modern society often seek external pleasures and distractions, while deep inner peace, lasting inner fulfillment, profound inner wisdom, and genuine confidence are almost always completely neglected and almost never truly pursued. Ever since we started school from a very young age, teachers have emphasized making money. Parents have consistently emphasized achieving higher test scores, believing strong academic performance leads to success. From a young age, we have been conditioned to focus on economics, power, or our own interests. So growing up in this particular kind of educational environment. As for the end result of what kind of adults we become, I believe everyone is quite clear and aware about that. So today, as we engage in this meaningful conversation and discussion together, all as one, and I hope that all the intellectuals present here today will reflect deeply and thoughtfully on this important matter. You should look at your own inner troubles and suffering, as well as your worries, your happiness, your special moments of joy, and each and every one of your successes. At the same time, you should also observe those around us in our surroundings, whether they are wealthy or not, regardless of their financial status, and the various living conditions of people from all walks of life. In this way, we will gradually learn and acquire a great deal of new knowledge. In my own view, the external material conditions that affect and shape the lives of people living in the 21st century are especially significant, have progressed to an unprecedented level in recent years, which everyone should recognize, understand, and take seriously. If we look back 20 years ago at the clothes we wore, the food we ate, for our essential housing and other important aspects of life in our everyday lives, the standard of living at that particular time period was, quite frankly, simply not very high at all. But now, from the outside, quite clearly, one could say that things are, in every possible way, extremely luxurious and completed. However, what kinds of confusions exist within people's hearts? Most urban dwellers have already, in fact, developed various forms of depression. I once read, if I recall correctly, around 2009, I believe, the White Collar Health White Paper, a comprehensive study written specifically to address the growing health issues faced by office workers, clearly stated that in major cities like Beijing and Shanghai, according to the study, 76% of people suffer from psychological disorders, also known as sub-health conditions, which significantly impact their daily well-being. A substantial 60% of people are already dealing with health problems, which may include chronic illnesses, ongoing physical discomfort. In other words, those who are, in fact, truly free of any illness and genuinely healthy make up less than 3%. With such data, when you look at it this way, everyone understands that on the surface, everyone is under a lot of pressure. And I've heard that these pressures are called the four major pressures. What are the four major pressures? One is the pressure of buying a house in major cities. Some people spend their lives working just to pay for their homes. Another one is taking care of elderly parents. That's the second pressure. The third pressure is specifically children's education. The fourth pressure is actually many individuals' own personal, emotional, and marital issues. These four pressures are like an immense mountain, constantly and relentlessly weighing people down, especially in our daily lives. There is simply no sense of freedom or breathing space here to live comfortably in this crowded, suffocating environment we find ourselves in. So just some time ago, a little while back, in my hometown, a group of sixth grade students were graduating. When the students graduated, they said, "Now we don't have to line up anymore. At this stage, we are ready to transition to higher level schools, taking the next step in our educational journey." Later, I joked with them. I said, maybe you don't need to graduate from elementary school, but as you move up, the pressure ahead of you only gets greater. For our adults here, actually, even though you don't have to study or line up anymore, even after all your efforts, you still find yourself feeling completely exhausted and worn out by the constant, relentless competition that exists everywhere in modern society. I remember seeing a magazine back in March 2010 that caught my attention. I think it was actually a magazine called Shaokang. Shaokang Magazine is a publication jointly produced by Tsinghua University and the Shaokang Magazine Agency. In this publication, as mentioned previously, it is clearly stated that 88% of people suffer from unhealthy conditions. What are unhealthy conditions? It means that in cities there are anxiety disorders, depression, and other related issues, and all kinds of psychological issues caused by overwork and fatigue. So everyone should be completely clear and fully aware that things which seem especially meaningful on the surface, and we should keep in mind that everyone pursues their own unique way of life. I feel that what I have done is truly the most meaningful and valuable thing one could ever hope to experience, representing the highest form of fulfillment and genuine happiness. But if you really pay close attention and observe, everyone actually goes to work during the day, and by night, they are basically exhausted and miserable. This is the situation. Nowadays, in modern society, many people who live in cities that they have a mindset that is not particularly healthy. The reasons for this unhealthy state are excessive fatigue and overwhelming desires. Another reason is that in many cases, people's daily lives are lack routine. As a result, people's mental states are easily affected by these circumstances and environmental factors that surround them daily. In fact, the number of people suffering from various mental illnesses is increasing. According to statistics, out of every 6 people, 1 shows symptoms of mental fatigue. 1 out of 6 people in the world today suffers from some degree of psychological depression to varying extents. It is often said by many people that in China today, in the present era, there is a common belief or understanding about this matter. Tragically, over 200,000 people commit suicide each year around the world due to mental fatigue. So this is an extremely frightening phenomenon. So you may be asking, what is the reason for this particular situation? The answer is actually quite simple. When it comes to adjusting our mental state, we often need many different remedies. Of course, the medications prescribed by hospitals are also absolutely necessary. But most importantly, as I mentioned earlier, faith is essential for our minds, as it is something we truly need to thrive and find meaning. In the past, as you may know, there was a professor at the University of Toronto's Faculty of Medicine in Canada who, after many years of scientific experiments and thorough research, and through persistent effort, dedication, and unwavering commitment, finally reached a conclusion, which is, people must have some form of faith. With faith, the sense of happiness within us will continue to gradually and steadily increase over time. Illnesses related to mental fatigue, such as anxiety, stress, and emotional exhaustion, can often be eased through faith's comfort and hope. I truly believe this is indeed a very important and meaningful and significant matter, as most people are already aware. Everyone knows the famous psychologist Carl Jung. Carl Jung, a renowned psychologist, he wrote a book called Modern Man in Search of a Soul. This book carefully discusses these topics in considerable detail, offering clear explanations, which is about, in an era of highly advanced technology now, human thoughts have become extremely complex. At such a time, there is truly a need for religious faith. Among all religions, it is Buddhism in particular that truly provides the most extraordinary and effective methods for healing and soothing the mind and thoughts. He said specifically that in our daily lives, we practice meditation and sitting meditation, as well as praying frequently and sincerely reciting heartfelt and devoted prayers, chanting sacred scriptures, and carefully and mindfully reciting mantras. This approach is a well-known form of psychological therapeutic intervention. In his particular field of psychology, Jung believed that various Buddhist practices such as chanting and meditation are therapeutic methods. So today, as I communicate with everyone here, with all of you, I want to especially emphasize some of Buddhism's particularly effective therapeutic methods. These are absolutely crucial, especially for people in modern times dealing with various pressures. Otherwise, even though we may have in our possession wealth in many different aspects of our lives, have status, and enjoy successful careers in their respective fields, our bodies are becoming increasingly and truly exhausted and overwhelmed and fatigued. Our minds are always in a state of panic or dissatisfaction, or constantly longing for more, always pursuing new goals, and endlessly competing with others in every aspect. This is precisely the moment when we truly need the gentle, nectar-like and soothing remedies of Buddhism to extinguish improper afflictions that arise within us, like negative emotions or distressing feelings, and bring inner peace. So nowadays, in these big cities, I believe that among those present here today, some of you gathered must be scholars who sincerely believe in Buddhism. Some of you are actually simply engaged in scientific or technological work and may not truly have any faith. Some are half believing, half doubting, therefore there may generally be these 3 types of people. There is also another type who not only lack faith, but also want to refute all the viewpoints of believers in every possible way. Among these, the latter, that is, those who do not believe themselves and wish to refute The views and arguments of those who do have faith in such beliefs and convictions that must possess genuine wisdom, carefully conduct thorough research, and actively engage in thoughtful discussion. Otherwise, you have no idea of the value of faith at all. You simply don't understand the role faith plays. If you use your own conceptual thoughts and delusions to argue against others' correct viewpoints, then that is a very irresponsible, unscientific, and irrational approach. Therefore, I firmly believe that in our modern society today, if people truly and sincerely have faith, even when you encounter great difficulties or suffering, at that moment, in your heart, you can rely on a place of refuge, a source of dependence, comfort, and reassurance. I clearly remember that specific morning, February 22, 2002, at exactly 10 a.m. on a Friday. At that time, former U.S. President Bush visited your Tsinghua University. His speech, given at that time, I was in Xiamen translating the extensive biography of Shakyamuni Buddha. I turned on the TV to watch it, and as I watched, I just felt that up to now, it's been almost 8 years. And during these 8 years, I can still remember many parts of his speech very clearly. They are still fresh in my mind. There was a passage in it that, for example, specifically mentioned that so-called faith is absolutely not something to be feared, for faith far surpasses the strict constraints of law. He also said that in America, around 95% of people believe in God and spirituality, regardless of denomination. I am actually one of them for my whole life, honestly. When I reflect on my life, I realize religion has brought me more comfort and benefits than anything else I've known. He also spoke about many truths regarding faith that resonated with me. I think that although he was talking about Christian faith in his speech, whether it is Christianity, Buddhism, or Islam, or any other religion, belief system, philosophy, spiritual path, or faith in the world, if you compare people with faith to those who without beliefs, it should be said that having faith is certainly better. If you truly have faith, then all your actions in this life will have a kind of gentle restraint. If there is no restraint, especially if you do not in any meaningful way understand past and future lives, the Nirvana Sutra says that people who don't understand karma and rebirth will commit unlimited evil acts. People who are unaware of future lives are capable of doing any kind of bad thing. This is especially true in particular for those of you who are present here today and who work in various scientific fields. If you believe good deeds are rewarded and bad deeds are punished, that you reap what you sow, whether it's melons or beans, if you have this kind of view, you will act responsibly toward society, toward people, and toward the entire world. You will approach technological innovation with responsibility and consideration carefully. Otherwise, everything will be done out of selfishness and narrow self-interest rather than principle or conscience. And every action will be motivated by this kind of thoughtful attitude. The consequences of this are truly frightening. Why is it that nowadays so many products out there these days in the market are terrifyingly fake or just substandard? Most of our food contains large amounts of various toxins, or many agricultural farms in rural areas, as well as the various resources and tools that people commonly use. All of these, in the end, ultimately bring inconvenience. At the same time, some hospitals and schools nowadays are unfortunately increasingly only chasing after money. A society like this ultimately becomes extremely frightening. With such practices, people will inevitably develop mental illnesses in the end. Mental illnesses far surpass physical illnesses. Physical illnesses can be effectively managed and treated with medical technology, such as modern advancements. But for mental illnesses, the only way to regulate them is by relying on certain religious truths, or when necessary, by using various different methods of self-adjustment. Practices such as meditation, chanting the Buddha's name, and so on. Apart from these, in any hospital, there is currently no way to diagnose or treat such conditions. And even if treatment is attempted, the results are very poor. That's why I often feel that in this world, most people, whether they are really scientists or educators, such as teachers, engaged in teaching here If these people truly want to be responsible to society, they must at first have a perspective on life of their own. This perspective on life, as I mentioned yesterday when I was having a discussion at Peking University, I said people's views on life, everyone's mind is different, just as faces are different and just as no two are alike, so are our thoughts, beliefs, and perspectives unique to each individual. And although each person's mindset is not the same, with all kinds of values and personal preferences, what is really most crucial, at the very least, people absolutely do need to know about the existence of both past and future lives. People need to understand that good deeds are rewarded and bad deeds are punished. In other words, doing good brings good results, while doing bad brings bad results. This is something that must be understood. In this case, a small number of people, especially those who never studied religion, might raise some doubts, thinking that if this is really true and actually works, then why, when I do good deeds now, do I not immediately see good results? Actually, this way of thinking does not really hold up. In fact, why is it not valid? Doing good deeds is planting the cause. The happiness you receive is the ripened result. There must be a certain specific amount of time and space between cause and effect. In other words, when farmers plant crops in the spring, it is only in the autumn you can harvest it. You can reap its fruits if you wish. It is impossible if I plant crops today. I will absolutely have a full harvest of all the various fruits tomorrow. That's impossible. In the same way, the good or bad karma we create in this life as a result of our actions in the next life or the life after that, or even many lives later, will inevitably ripen within your own continuum. That's why the Buddha also said in the 100 Deed Sutra that the karma you create won't ripen on things like mountains or rivers, nor will it simply disappear in the meantime. It will most certainly, and without a doubt, ripen within the continuance of the mental stream. Therefore, whatever karma a person creates in their life, it will not be exhausted even after hundreds of thousands or millions of eons. This is the principle. Although this is a specific view of cause and effect, as taught within the tradition of Buddhism, this perspective on cause and effect is also our outlook on life. If people treated this outlook on life as their value system, then society would become more beautiful and more radiant. But in today's society, there are indeed very few people who truly believe in cause and effect and who do kind and thoughtful things for other people and for society as a whole. Perhaps by saying this in a way, it might sound like I am taking a pessimistic view and denying many of the wonderful achievements we have today. But maybe people also realize, in fact, that behind the brightness of today's society, there are still many dark shadows lurking. So what is the source of these dark shadows? It is that people do not believe in cause and effect. Whether it is faith in cause and effect or belief in past and future lives, is there any solid and reliable evidence for this? There absolutely is. In Buddhism, there are thousands of sutras and treatises that can explain this. After a person dies, it is not like a fire going out or water drying up, where everything simply ceases to exist. Absolutely not. After death, past and future lives exist. Even scientists, such as the renowned physicist Newton, the famous scientist, have said that after death, consciousness must continue to exist and persist in some form. This includes Einstein, as well as the scientist Russell, who was a prominent figure in his field in his era. Russell, who won the Nobel Prize in the UK in 1950, as well as the distinguished Mr. Lu Xun and several other notable individuals, although, as you may be aware, some of them did not study Buddhism thoroughly or comprehensively. Within their understanding, they still acknowledge some basic concepts of cause and effect and certain fundamental truths. Some scientists and researchers today working in a variety of fields hold a blind attitude toward the issue of life, death, and reincarnation. Because we know that what we call science, whether it is macroscience or microscience, in fact, science is entirely a discipline that, as a field of study, deals with external phenomena and observable objects. When it comes to matters truly about one's own inner mind and consciousness, even today, when science has developed to such an advanced degree, scientists' understanding and assessment of the mind, and even the question of whether past and future lives exist, remains a blind spot. They hold a blind viewpoint. They neither simply affirm nor deny it. This is the view held by most scientists. Although I am not very well read, I am also not someone who is ignorant or uninformed, whether ancient or modern, from China or abroad. Many distinguished psychologists, quantum physicists, and physicists, I flipped through a great many such books over the years. And in the process of reading them, I very easily discovered that what people call science is something that everyone especially admires and aspires to. Modern science has indeed, in a certain sense, brought convenience to the external world. As everyone knows, now that science is becoming more and more technologically advanced, whether it's transportation or communication or any aspect of our daily lives, in our everyday modern world, it has brought truly and remarkably unprecedented, significant progress. However, if we truly examine things from our own heart, considering whether past and future lives exist, most scientists who are currently conducting research in this particular area have not reached a very clear or definitive conclusion. A considerable number of scientists, such as Jung and many other highly respected and distinguished scientists, as I just mentioned earlier in this context, he was heavily influenced by Western philosophical thought and Tibetan Buddhism throughout his academic studies. They inevitably acknowledge that, in one way or another, the human spirit must, without a doubt, truly exist as it appears. So today, here in such a high-tech center in China, at this very moment, right now, and in the process of conversing with so many wise individuals with profound knowledge, if it is possible among you, there are also very strong reasons to deny the existence of past and future lives. As Buddhists, it is impossible for us to be attached to our views, insisting that what my Buddha or what our Buddhism says must be accepted. We do not take such a definitive stance. We all stand from a particularly fair and upright position. If there is actual truth in anyone's particular tradition, we seek the truth. And of course, in a certain sense, we look to the historical Prince Siddhartha, Shakyamuni Buddha, from over 500 years ago, who truly existed as a real person in India. He was first a prince, then manifested renunciation and became a monk, and after ordaining, practiced asceticism. After ascetic practice, he attained enlightenment and became a Buddha in Bodh Gaya. After becoming a Buddha, he went on to teach the Dhamma for a total of 49 years. The state of realization and thought he attained through practice, as precious as nectar, was left to humanity for the benefit of future generations. According to the text we have now, there are 108 volumes. All 108 volumes are expressions of the Buddha's wisdom, left for future generations. So the Buddha truly existed as a real person. Do we have faith? Indeed, we possess unwavering confidence. However, we cannot establish our Buddhist views solely on faith. We must rely on wisdom. Through debate, discussion, and mutual exchange, only then can we truly establish correct views in our minds. This is exactly why Tibetan Buddhism has a significant advantage. We debate with each other sometimes. During debates, you can, of course, use your truly utmost wisdom, your absolutely very best judgment. That is, you can use all of your intelligence and reasoning to thoughtfully refute the other person's viewpoint. When you refute their viewpoint, the other party must also acknowledge it through valid reasoning and logical inference. This is a feature of Tibetan Buddhism and in philosophy. It is one of the most powerful and especially effective methods for dispelling doubt. So today, in the course of our exchange here, if anyone has any questions at all, you are welcome to raise them openly and directly whenever necessary during our discussions. We can also discuss them with you, frankly, and without reservation whenever needed. This represents a unique opportunity for many people, and it is, in fact, a very good and effective approach or method as well. As I mentioned earlier, and as I have already explained, that what society truly requires now, at this very moment, is the original thoughts and truly profound wisdom of the Buddha from over 500 years ago. All of this profound wisdom is rooted in deep compassion and love. The timeless wisdom of the Buddha, in particular, has two fundamental characteristics. The first characteristic is his deep universal love and profound compassion for all sentient beings everywhere throughout the world. Although nowadays, in Christianity, in Catholicism, and in other religions as well, there are also acts of kindness that help others, these good deeds, as is often the case, compared to those described in Buddhist thought, which is differ to some extent in terms of their breadth. Whether it is the Buddhist view of equality or the view of compassion or the bodhicitta, this kind of mindset means that even towards your resentful enemies or towards all living beings everywhere in the world, you must care for them. This is called great love. I believe that such great love in any other philosophy or field whatsoever in the world is impossible to find. Therefore, in this regard, I believe that intellectuals and people in science and technology present here today should use your own wisdom and think hard to observe this closely. The universal love that the Buddha left us, whether in other philosophies, religions, or personal ideologies, does such a principle truly exist? Are there actually such viewpoints? So does human society today need this kind of perspective? And do all other forms of life really need it as well? I believe that not only we humans, but even other sentient beings need this kind of universal love from presidents at the very top to ordinary people. Everyone should always abide by it. Otherwise, everyone will face different kinds of criticism. I remember once, well, actually, the current president of the United States, Obama, as you may know, whether you are speaking in front of a group or engaging in conversations and interacting with others in different social settings, a tiny buzzing fly landed gently on him, right on his bare arm, and he barely noticed. At that moment, he, unfortunately, and quite unintentionally, in a twist of fate, killed it by accidentally pinching it. After his death, he was strongly condemned and criticized by local conservationists. The second time, when he was talking with others during their conversation, there was a bothersome fly that kept flying around him. Sometimes it would fly onto his lips or his eyes, but he didn't dare to actually kill it. Later, he told the news media, "This time, I didn't end up killing the fly." Of course, it wasn't compassion, honestly. It wasn't out of compassion at all. You could easily tell from his actions and words, the reason he didn't kill it this time was because he was afraid of becoming famous worldwide again. Just killing a single fly, if it is officially announced by the global media outlets, even for something so minor. I don't think it's worth it to me. So I see some other religions. Of course, there may also be many other religions present here today. Broadly speaking, I admire the harmonious coexistence among all religions. However, when it comes to the breadth of compassion within the philosophies of some religions today, there are certain observable differences. Even if it's a country's prime minister or a national leader or even a believer, they show special respect and unwavering reverence toward their own particular God. I've often carefully watched the speeches of successive US presidents. In all of their speeches, right at the beginning, they first make a vow or prayer to God with deep sincerity and devotion. At the end, they often say, "God bless you." They all simply believe in this. Such faith truly does undoubtedly benefit the country. However, the meaning of this faith, or rather this religious significance, when compared to the breadth of compassion in our Buddhism, there really is indeed a significant difference in Buddhism, even for tiny creatures like flies, ants, and mosquitoes. We are not allowed to harm them. Why can't we harm them? It's not for any other reason, but simply because they all have feelings. This is a crucial point. Everyone must remember this, because they all experience suffering and happiness, just like I do. If I were part of a very weak group and others discriminated against me or trampled on me, would that be justified? Would they not perhaps be condemned by humanitarian principles? Wouldn't they be rebuked by well-known figures? Of course they would. By the same logic, since we humans experience pain and have feelings, and people should not bully or harm us under any circumstances, then all living beings in the world, indeed, the only difference is that they cannot speak human language. In fact, they too deserve our protection as well. So on this issue, there should be a particularly profound meaning For those of us here who perhaps have never studied the Buddhist view of compassion, at first, it might sound a bit unbelievable. To some people, because other forms of life, in many ways, seem to be very different from humans. That's what we tend to think. But when you really reason it out, in the end, you probably can't come up with a real reason. A solid justification to kill them is not something you can articulate. This is one point that I really want to especially emphasize to everyone present about Buddhist psychological treatment. Mainly manifests itself in qualities such as compassion and wisdom. As for the aspect of wisdom, that the most extraordinary part of the Buddha's teachings is, without a doubt, the remarkably profound doctrine of emptiness itself. Because people in the world are attached to the idea of inherent existence tied to emotions, possessions, houses, as well as to status, fame, and power. All of these illusory, insubstantial things people become especially attached to. Such attachment will inevitably lead to suffering. The great Venerable Saraha said, attachment as small as a sesame seed brings suffering as great as Mount Sumeru. Even the smallest and seemingly insignificant attachment, no matter how minor it may appear, can ultimately bring you immense pain. If one accepts the existence of real external phenomena, then great greed and hatred arise. Bodhisattva Nagarjuna also explains this in his 60 verses on reasoning. If we regard phenomena as truly existent things, it will bring us suffering. Why do we say that? People now commit suicide, but from the perspective of Buddhists, suicide is not worth it. What can you get from suicide? Nothing. Whether it's your status or your relationships, facing problems is normal. The Buddha often taught about contemplating impermanence. During the Yushu earthquake, on this particular occasion, I saw this very clearly with my own eyes. Many of them are people of deep faith. 99% of them, in fact, are committed believers. The people there, compared to those affected by the Wenchuan earthquake, had a completely different mindset. At that time, many psychological counseling experts came from all over the country, but they couldn't treat since there was no need for comfort. They themselves personally felt that encountering such natural disasters and misfortunes is a normal phenomenon. All phenomena are impermanent. Nothing can last forever. So as Buddhist believers with faith, they usually reflect on their own positive aspects, but also consider the corresponding negative ones as well. Things like death, illness, and the eventual aging of people, or the complete loss of all your wealth, and so on. They has already thought deeply about many negative things like this. That's why, when facing difficult situations, they are extremely brave and resilient. Therefore, in summary, we believe that psychological healing significantly surpasses treatment with conventional medicines in many cases. For someone with a generally healthy mind, even when your body feels somewhat unwell or a bit off, it is very easy to eventually recover. So this kind of mindset, as in Tibetan Buddhism, which I think everyone is probably already aware of, for example, many dedicated practitioners in Tibet have exceptionally healthy mental states. From their expressions and from their daily lives, you can also really very quite clearly see their optimism when you look at them, especially for some wise individuals here who perhaps haven't had the opportunity to visit Tibet. If you can visit Tibet, you'll see that whether it's the natural environment, material conditions, or the lack of oxygen, and so on, there are quite a few difficulties to overcome with. But the local people are filled with sunshine in their hearts without any negative emotions. They always have a genuine and profound sense of contentment and satisfaction, as well as a deep sense of happiness, always. Why they will be like this? From a very young age, perhaps as children, they have been gently nurtured by Tibetan Buddhism. Because Tibetan Buddhism, as everyone should certainly be aware, of course, as is broadly understood, you will see that the Buddhism includes Tibetan Buddhism, Theravada Buddhism, and Mahayana Buddhism. Tibetan Buddhism was introduced into Tibet for the first time in the 8th century. And after it spread to Tibet, 99% of the people there became followers of this faith. After embracing this faith from a young age, from early childhood, they have always held on to such a truly wonderful and inspiring belief, a belief that has always guided them. This kind of faith brings people genuine health, longevity, and a long, profoundly meaningful life. I distinctly remember that at the Lhasa Institute for Social and Religious Studies, there was a person by the name of Soreng Dondrup who was there at that time, and he collected and compiled comprehensive information on 40 documented cases of individuals who attained the rainbow body. Their bodies had completely and fully achieved the rainbow body, with not even any trace of physical flesh or material substance remaining, and such attainments were achieved. All of these people were between 80 and 140 years old when this extraordinary occurrence took place. His data showed they were 80 to 140 years old. Why did they live such long lives for so many years? In such a high altitude climate, in such harsh conditions, why are so many long-lived individuals? The main reason is they maintained an extremely balanced mindset and adjusted their mentality very well. So today, I encourage everyone present to take the time to discuss and explore this aspect together in detail. Please share your thoughts and ideas openly with each other here. Many of you have work routines and schedules that are not very well organized, and a lot of them are not particularly reasonable. In Tibet, we have many classic scriptures, treatises, and tantras. If we combine all of these teachings together, the most fundamental adjustment is, first and foremost, to train the mind. Adjusting the mind is indeed very important. In the field of Tibetan medicine, there is the 4 medical tantras. In the ancient Tibetan medical text, known as the 4 medical tantras, the origin of all diseases is referred to as conceptual thoughts. The Venerable Atisha also spoke about this in the Lamp of the Path to Enlightenment. Distinguishing great ignorance can cause one to fall into the ocean of samsara. If one abides in the samadhi of no thought, one becomes stainless like empty space. There is such a scriptural teaching, which means to say, when we give rise to all kinds of greed, anger, attachment, and conceptual thoughts, at such times, both our body and mind are often unhealthy. We all know some people argue with others, and after arguing for several days, their body simply just can't recover. They often suffer from insomnia and all sorts of pain. If we adjust our mind properly and take care well, then all illnesses can be eradicated at the root. This point is emphasized in Chinese Han Buddhism, taught by Master Jigme. Master Jigme especially advocated the path of calm abiding and insight. There is actually a traditional teaching in which he said, if one can skillfully use the mind through cultivation and practice, then the 404 diseases will naturally be eliminated. He said that if we, for example, adjust our mindset properly, then all 404 types of illnesses can naturally be eradicated. Therefore, in Tibetan Buddhism, the first adjustment, that is to say, the first method of treatment, is to adjust the mind. Adjusting the mind is very important. Many people here are actually often overworked at such times. Don't become overly attached. The mind should be relaxed. If the mind is relaxed, one can gain a great deal of comfort, ease, and genuine happiness, as well as contentment and peace from it. Moreover, both the body and the mind will, quite naturally, become much more healthy and balanced. This is a gentle and effective method of adjusting and calming the mind. The second method of adjustment is dietary adjustment, which involves making changes to your diet in order to improve your health. Nowadays, most people in contemporary society have particularly irregular eating habits due to busy schedules. Some people, for example, don't eat at regular times. Some people often eat too much, and some people eat too little. This kind of behavior is indeed certainly detrimental to overall health. So in the Vinaya Sutras and the Yogacara Bhumi, Shastra, and other related treatises, the Buddha has already taught that food should not be taken in excess or in insufficiency. It is also important to avoid eating food at random times throughout the day, and one should not consume meals or snacks at irregular or unpredictable All of these things can cause significant harm to your body, negatively affecting your health, both physically and mentally. So nowadays, people in society sometimes, including when it comes to the taste of food, you shouldn't make it too spicy, too salty, or too numbing. Otherwise, it will naturally overstimulate your senses and your body. Generally speaking, a vegetarian diet is the most suitable. Some people often say that eating a vegetarian diet is just simply too hard on their bodies. Actually, this kind of statement is unreasonable. Some time ago, I met someone who, as I recall, and he said that it's best to eat meat. If you don't eat meat, how can you actually maintain your body just by eating grass like a yak? I joked, actually, beef also comes from grass ultimately. Yaks eat grass, yaks don't eat meat. And yaks get their nutrition from the plants and water in the mountains. If they can get enough nutrition this way, therefore, eating these vegetarian foods regularly can truly be beneficial for our health, as they support our well-being and contribute to maintaining a healthy lifestyle. But nowadays, people are always drinking coffee and other caffeinated stimulants, and then simply eating meat. On the surface, eating meat seems beneficial to our health, but in fact, many Western philosophers and humanitarians in particular, for instance, among others, they don't avoid meat from a religious perspective, but rather from the standpoint of their own health, from medical and nutritional perspectives. Humans are not suited to eating too much meat. If you consume excessive amounts of meat, your entire liver and lungs won't be able to handle it. So the purest, most meaningful and non-evil karma should be vegetarian food. Therefore, adjusting to a vegetarian diet truly brings significant, notable, and great benefits to our health. Gradually, I think that everyone here should really take the time to carefully study and thoughtfully explore vegetarianism. Many people in China, including some medical and scientific professionals, have not yet done enough research on the health benefits of vegetarianism. We also, in general, have a serious lack of awareness and understanding of environmental protection. In fact, environmental protection should also be all of humanity. Every single person exists on only one earth. If everyone destroys nature and no one cares for it, then ultimately humanity will truly have absolutely no place to survive. But people only think about their own families without considering broader issues. They lack broad, far-reaching ideals. In Buddhism, we refer to such people as Hinayana, the lesser vehicle. Hinayana practitioners seek liberation. But even this ultimate personal liberation, which is not achieved by such people, of course, from a broader and more visionary perspective, we must develop a greater sense of awareness and responsibility for the protection of animals. At the same time, we need to be conscious of protecting the natural environment. Only in this way can harmony between humans and nature be achieved. If we want harmony between humans and nature, all mountains, rivers of nature, as well as the animals that live within nature, should all relate to us humans as friends. It should not be the case that just because I am simply human and you are my food, we should not recklessly treat them like plants, killing and eating absolutely everything in sight, with the single exception of humans. This kind of mindset and ideology is indeed not praiseworthy. Scientist Russell once said, among all religions, the one I admire most without a doubt is Buddhism. I believe what he admired is exactly what I just mentioned, which is the Buddhist view of compassion. And the Buddhist view of compassion truly extends to all sentient beings around us who have a karmic connection. This is something we absolutely must accomplish at this very moment in time. This is what we just discussed regarding adjusting our diet. Another important aspect to consider is carefully adjusting our sleep patterns. This is also very important for our health. If we don't make adjustments, some people don't sleep at all. Those who are new to Buddhism or new to religion, they will devote all their time to diligent practice. In fact, staying up late like this or being overly zealous in practice brings inconvenience to your health. There are also people who sleep excessively, getting a good night's sleep, sleeping 10 hours, or even more than 9 hours a day. This actually brings even more significant harm to your body and overall health and well-being. Back in the 1960s, the scientist Hideaway, in particular, conducted extensive observations. At that time, he distributed 800,000 statistical questionnaires for testing. During the testing process, he concluded that the source of many people's illnesses was, in fact, excessive sleep in certain cases. If you sleep more than 9 to 10 hours a night, then such people are actually very prone to illness. Science has shown this as well. And in Buddhism, the first and second nights are not really sleepy at all. And only the middle nights are the ones when you can actually sleep. But nowadays, people in big cities probably don't follow this either. When I often communicate with some Buddhist friends from time to time, they sleep through the entire late night period. The early night and middle of the night are for work or tasks. So for people in big cities, start sleeping at 2 or 3 in the morning and continue until 9 or 10 the next day. This kind of practice is unreasonable. It simply does not truly fit with the natural rhythms of humanity or the human body, and not in any real sense or in any way whatsoever. So in general, the very best time for people to sleep, the time when your whole body can benefit the most, is between 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. This period is the best. If you don't sleep during this time and you stay up past 1 a.m., it will definitely be detrimental to your health. Some people may not notice this right now, but if you overwork yourself like this long term, or if your days and nights are reversed, there is a certain connection between the movement of the sun and moon and the flow of energy channels in the body. So, well, generally speaking, it's best for people to let go of everything, relax completely, and sleep peacefully and well at midnight without worries at all. You should get up early in the morning. But in big cities nowadays, there is no routine. I think that many people nowadays really don't have regular eating habits either. Sometimes they eat a lot, sometimes very little. There's absolutely no pattern. Their sleep is irregular as well. Another common way to train the mind, in fact, is through very effective breathing. In Tibetan regions, many meditations include visualizing letters, or, if you prefer, you can exhale very slowly, then inhale, then exhale again, and then inhale again, gently and calmly. This kind of practice is actually very beneficial for the body, especially when you get up in the morning, right after you wake up. Slowly exhaling through your nostrils, then slowly inhaling deeply and fully, repeating this many times. It can also be quite helpful indeed, and certainly beneficial for regulating both the body and the mind. I believe the Yellow Emperor's classic of internal medicine from Han China also mentions that when the righteous energy is present within, evil cannot invade. If our minds are at peace and the vital energy is present within, if the wind channels in your body are functioning normally, then, to use modern terms, you have resistance, and all external illnesses and disturbances will have no opportunity to take hold or affect you. This most certainly gives you hope for good health for your future and well-being overall. So when many people get up in the morning at the start of their day to say ha, they use a distinct ha sound to expel some of the defiled wind. After doing this, it brings about an adjustment to both body and mind. This is one method of adjustment, and there are others as well. Sometimes people often meditate, or they will do some physical activities or exercise, because some people say that life lies in movement, but Buddhism does not see it that way. And if you are always moving and never truly quiet, not even for a single moment to have a rest, to be honest, your overall lifespan or longevity will not be extended, contrary to what some might believe. That's why in many of the Han region, for example, like Master Shu Yun and Master Qingding, the reason why so many Chan masters live such long lives is because they enjoy sitting in meditation. After meditating, not only your life itself, your lifespan can be extended not just by movement, but also by sitting in stillness. Movement and stillness should ideally be thoughtfully combined, and this is the perspective from the Buddhist tradition. So in your daily life, during physical activity, I think the best is prostration. In Buddhism, we practice prostration, and prostration is especially good for your health, providing a full body workout. On one hand, the merit of performing a single prostration is inconceivable. If you have faith and believe, then the merit is extremely great. In addition, if you do 100 prostrations every day, then you won't tire easily, nor will you age quickly. So whether you are young or an adult, I suggest that if possible, even just doing 3 prostrations daily, that would be great. Prostration is very beneficial for the body's movement and functioning. Also, when you have time, if possible, try sitting in meditation in the morning after you wake up. If you really don't know how, then just visualize the Shakyamuni Buddha in front of you. Then close your eyes and sit for a while, and again visualize Shakyamuni Buddha. If you can't even do that, then just clear your mind and think of nothing at all. Sit for about 2 or 3 minutes, or even up to half an hour, and let your mind settle. In fact, this is truly very helpful for your entire body and mind. Sometimes in our everyday lives, we often talk about this as well. Someone said to me, you should take a short break, close your eyes, and rest for a bit. Closing your eyes and resting is a form of meditation. It is a state found in Zen practice. Taking a short break like this lets your body and mind relax, and all the energies that are present in the channels throughout your body will flow in a natural and healthy way. This in turn brings great benefits to your physical health. In short, a person's mindset in daily life, if focused on helping others, will not bring much pressure. This is also, in fact, a kind of key point. That is to say, if we are selfish, even in small ways, in our daily lives, in our thoughts and actions, it brings us emotional pain, harm, and suffering. But if you are not selfish and your mindset is to help others, even if what you do does not succeed, you will not have much resentment either towards others or even towards yourself as well. If there is no resentment, no anger at all, your heart will gradually become happier and happier. This is indeed very important in the present context. If everyone is selfish, everyone might want to stand a little higher. It's like when we're in a movie theater, if all the people in front don't sit and instead stand up, then the people in the back won't be able to see the whole show. Same idea that if everyone stands up with a selfish mindset, this is especially bad. Therefore, in today's international community, the original attitudes from the 19th and 20th centuries have changed quite a bit. I see that here we have many people who are wealthy, influential, and capable. Then these people, you don't think that use the entire purpose of your life solely for your own development. While developing and improving yourself, you should also thoughtfully consider the people around you. This is what we call altruism, or in other words, the act of selfless giving, also known as charity. A couple of days ago, on June 18th, the legendary investors Warren Buffett and Bill Gates, both renowned for their remarkable achievements, held an exclusive dinner event. At this dinner, they also invited, including the mayor of New York and media moguls, among many other distinguished individuals. They issued a call directed toward individuals in the United States, with particular emphasis on those who are extremely wealthy, specifically billionaires, to donate half of their considerable personal wealth to truly charitable careers. Many wealthy individuals who attended the event made public pledges committing to donate more than half of their fortunes to charitable causes, aiming to positively impact society. In certain regions and specific areas throughout China, in some places that we will know about, the ideas of helping others and supporting charitable causes is not widely promoted. We still don't have this kind of awareness in our hearts yet. It's only when an earthquake or some disaster happens somewhere that we take emergency measures, quickly raise the necessary funds, and then that's it, nothing more happens. But that's not how it should be. When humanity's awareness truly reaches a certain level, you don't have to wait for a natural disaster to donate money. It's not donating then forgetting. It's not like that. There are still so many people around us in our daily lives who need help. There should always be a mindset of helping others. For example, in hospitals, there are many poor people who simply cannot afford to pay for medical treatment, and we should often go and help them. Many people can't attend school, and many are unfortunate. There are many seniors living alone with no one to care for them. If we always help these people with a heart full of compassion, then society will truly make progress. How many luxurious villas and cars does a person have? But not society development. Even if the material aspects of individuals in society develop, but the spirit of humanity as a whole does not improve, then society will ultimately inevitably reach a state of selfishness. It will also become self-destructive and self-deceptive. So I think that the overall mindset of humanity today should be to help others, benefit others, and develop together. We should truly strive and work hard in this direction. Otherwise, no matter how much we talk about rapid and impressive development on the surface, in reality, our minds are still very backward. Everyone just wants to develop themselves, and this kind of self-development is often built on harming others. Some entrepreneurs nowadays are quite frightening, even though their pockets have a lot of money, but the sources behind this money are quite unclean and questionable. Some even use all kinds of means behind the scenes to harm countless people. Who exactly is responsible for these consequences? Sometimes we should be able to imagine the answer. Therefore, I personally believe that, in my view, our society is in great need of Mahayana Buddhism. So what is Mahayana Buddhism? It is the unconditional act of truly benefiting and genuinely helping other human beings and all other sentient beings, and including every individual. It is this kind of noble spirit, and this noble spirit, no matter which ethnicity or which country it is found in, it will shine brightly here, illuminating every corner and dispelling darkness, bringing light and hope to this place. Today, I would like to take a moment to sincerely share a few meaningful and heartfelt words with each and every one of you. I sincerely hope that those of you who are destined to hear this message will truly and deeply keep it close within your hearts, cherishing its meaning and reflecting on it often. Finally, I wish that everyone, with the altruistic spirit of Mahayana Buddhism, we may help all those with whom we share a connection. Thank you, everyone.